Yes, I'm driving down.
Look at that!
There's a car coming. What the? They got an E in that sign there.
Mind starts spinning. But that's powerful to say about a book. And a book can
Welcome to Read It and Eat It in the Library, the podcast where we talk about books and eat food inspired by the books and public libraries. Today my guests are Mick and Ruth Classen. Welcome and thank you for coming.
Thank you.
They have chosen the book The Professor and the Madman, A Tale of Murder, Insanity, and the Making of the Oxford English Dictionary by Simon Winchester. Tell me about why you chose this book.
It's short. You know, that helps. It's just a good story, nice and crisp. I really liked when we first read it, just the way he uses the English language. I thought it was so appropriate for the title of the book.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. This is a reread for me too. I keep a listing of every book that I've read for the past 22 years. And
Wow.
I must have read this book slightly before that because I went through all of my journals and I couldn't find it. So it was published in 1998, and I think I probably read it right about the time that it came out. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, and I thought, I'll never look at a dictionary the same again.
Absolutely. It's interesting when you reread a book and how it kind of your perceptions change and morph. And so one of the things that caught my attention is in the book it talks about the legend of when they actually met and how Professor Murray actually appeared at the asylum, not knowing it was an asylum, and then they're saying, well, that's not actually how it happened. But in my mind, I was like, well, what do you mean? Of course that's how it happened.
Yes.
It really surprised me.
So that wasn't how it happened?
No, it's part of the story. He knew in advance, but it's just the legend of how it
Must
happened.
have
that
missed
he
those
appeared
pages.
Your second read.
Yes.
So if the OED called for a redo and they asked for volunteers now, would you want to participate?
I'd have to think long and hard about that. They worked very hard on researching those words. Very hard. How about you?
I wouldn't even think twice. There's no way I would do it.
Really?
They're geniuses, these guys. They were...
Yeah,
But I think it was regular people. Like these two
Jeez.
happen to be geniuses,
Yes.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But I think the rest of the contributors
Really?
were average people.
And many of them gave up.
Well, that's fair.
Just the professor, what was his name again? Dr.
Miner and Professor Murray.
Yeah, Dr. Miner.
Yeah.
He stuck with it.
Yeah.
Well, he didn't have much choice, but... yeah.
Well, he had nothing else to do.
It was a major commitment for these guys, no matter how long they stuck it out.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it took 70 years.
I think that in my early years, like when I was a university student, I would have loved to contribute and use that as a way to like advance my learning. But at the current time, I don't think there's any way that I would spend my time doing that. There was also a time in my life where when I was in university and doing all of the English classes that I would I just would really want to contribute and participate, and I loved analyzing language in that way. And now I'm let's just read for fun. if I miss a symbol here or two, like, that's okay.
Yeah.
But this is a fun book to read.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely it is.
It's, like I say, the work people put into this dictionary it was unreal.
Mm-hmm.
Pages and pages, and what did they say he came up with? How many slips of paper? 2 tons of slips of paper, more than 2 tons.
Amazing. That's amazing.
All filed away.
Yeah.
In the pigeonholes, that was
Yes,
a super fun
yes.
image to imagine that.
Yeah.
And yeah,
The scriptorium.
absolutely. So it seemed to me the kinds of people that participated were very varied. Like women were included in the creation,
Amazing.
and that wouldn't necessarily have been common in all aspects of life at that time. So it seems to me that the creation of the OED was really a super cool thought about inclusion, and really like in a modern sense that happened 100 years ago.
Yes.
Because there was women, there were people that were not experiencing, or that were experiencing mental illness, and I just thought I'm not sure that there's tons of examples in our modern life where that is authentically the case, where so many people can contribute authentically to something.
Exactly.
In a way that works for them, and still have equal contribution.
Yeah.
I think it was just because it was so hard to do. They said, let's get the women to do it. I do.
That's a possibility. That's a possibility. Another thing that caught my attention was actually just the pressure of writing this book in terms of Simon Winchester. Like the language that he uses, the people that are going to be attracted, the readers of this book, are going to be pretty well educated. They're going to be word people. So
just looking for something wrong.
absolutely, like the editors would have extra pressure. The publisher would have extra pressure. But honestly, I had to get out the dictionary a couple of times because he was using words that I was not familiar with.
I agree.
So, yeah, I loved the challenge.
The beginning of
that.
every chapter.
Absolutely,
that was
super
nice.
great.
Yeah.
So this was crowdsourced. One could say probably one of the first crowdsourcing things before it was even considered that. Why do you think the OED, being a crowdsourced item, is so revered and respected, yet something like Wikipedia that is crowdsourced in almost the very same way is not accepted for academics or by academics?
Yes. You got an answer for that?
No, I don't.
I don't know either.
But I think there was a lot more control on OED than what's going on in Wikipedia. Like, that's pretty loosely monitored, isn't it?
Like,
If you see something you don't like, then you make a comment. It's not really,
You mean for Wikipedia
Yeah.
or this dictionary?
no, Wikipedia.
that's fair. There is a live factor of Wikipedia that isn't present in the
Yeah.
OED.
Yeah.
Because it's self sort of correcting, isn't it, the way it's supposed to be set up?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
But just like in a very similar way to the OED, right? Like
Yes.
those people could have made things up, and I can't imagine that everything would have
Good
been
point. Good point.
super
yeah,
accurate.
no, but
or-
it's not like we would have had all these people that could have made things up. There's just a few guys, right? Like he was in charge of it, really.
Yes.
There would be only a few guys that I think were really,
But with so many entries, I don't
Oh,
think
yeah.
they could have verified everything. Like they authentically needed the support
Yeah.
of their
I guess so.
people. I don't
Yeah.
know. That's something that just really
Yeah,
caught my
that's interesting.
attention.
Yeah.
That
I wonder
very
if-
few people would question the validity of the OED.
Exactly.
Like everyone
Yeah.
says that is the penultimate of dictionaries. And I would guess that most people don't know it was crowdsourced.
Oh,
If they knew, would it change anybody's opinion? I don't know.
But the university was behind that, so that would give it a lot
Yeah.
of credibility. I
Oxford
would
University,
think.
yeah.
Maybe that's what Wikipedia needs.
Is-
Get a university behind that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To give it some validity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Hmm.
Do you have a favorite English word?
Nick does first. Go
Yeah.
ahead with yours.
It's a pretty humble word.
Okay.
Humble.
Humble.
Yes.
Excellent. Excellent. And why is that?
Why is that? Because in our day and age, that is not something that's with media, social media, the way it is, that's not something that automatically jumps into the forefront. Humility. It's kind of the opposite.
So it's the concept of the word that you
It's
like.
the concept of
Okay,
the word
yeah.
and how important it is,
Mhm.
especially with all the things that are going on. And I'm right. And
Yeah.
I'm always right. But if you don't have any humility, you can say that. Donald Trump is always right.
I love it.
Slice, slice, slice.
We're
But
in
you're always
Canada.
right, because there's no humility.
Right.
You know, you don't have the option to consider other things. Oh, well, maybe I got this wrong a little bit. I don't know. That's why I like that.
What about you?
Well, it'd be well, I like a lot of English words. I find them
Ruth
interesting.
uses a lot of it.
I like the English language, and I find it's a difficult language. I think value, that professor, or the Dr. Miner, who is the madman, he really felt valued with his contributions. That gave him something to live for. You know, what do we value in
Sense of
life?
purpose. Yeah.
Sense of purpose, yeah.
I think my favorite English word is indeed.
Oh,
I say indeed a lot, and it's just one of those words where you can put a lot of different meanings behind
Yes.
it, but
Indeed.
the tone of your voice, and so
It's true.
I find myself
That's
saying
that's
that
a good one.
regularly.
Yeah.
And it gets people to pay attention in a different way than they would if I would have just said or
Yeah.
like it doesn't mean too much different than that, really, you know. But it does get people to
how it hits them.
focus in.
Your tone of voice, yeah.
My kids say it back to me regularly.
Indeed.
I'll say it, and they're like, yeah, indeed, indeed. As I was thinking about the Oxford English Dictionary and how they conceived and what a feat it was, and the historical context that they tried to bring into that, I wondered if it actually stunted the English language more than it advanced it.
Oh.
I was thinking about how by just solidifying all of these things and putting them in an order in a work like that, does it put too much focus on the past versus the evolution of the language?
Which is very valid, yeah.
Because I was thinking
change.
pronunciations used to evolve quite a bit, spellings used to evolve quite a bit, and the Oxford English Dictionary was really the beginning of this is the way it is. And meanings still change, and meanings and words are evolving.
Yes.
But not in the same way as it used to. So does that mean that English is a grown-up language now? Or is it stuck?
Interesting point. Well, it certainly does change. I mean, even just the word harassment. And now it's harassment.
Or foyer.
Yeah.
I always said foyer, but it's foyer. Yeah.
There are a few words like
Yeah.
that just like, whoa, that has really changed.
Yeah, for sure.
Just listening to the news and to reporters and how they speak the English language now. Yeah, it's changed. What other word beside harassment did we know? Is there harassment?
In terms of pronunciation?
Yeah.
I can't think of one right now.
Yeah.
But I actually had the opposite thought
Okay.
reading the book, because
Yeah.
it showed how words evolve and stuff like that, and I thought it freed up you
To invent something.
different way of using words.
Yeah. What I liked is how they, like it wasn't just the word and the definition. It gave all the way it could be
Historical.
used and how it was used.
Yeah, and the quotations provide excellent context, right? Much more so than an accurate
Can you
definition.
imagine reading a book and marking all the ways that word was used in throughout that book.
I
Like,
think
that's
that
kind of
is
what
a
they did.
fantastic way to wreck my love of reading.
It's
Yeah.
interesting how they put this together.
I'm grateful that somebody else did that.
Yes, exactly, like Mick
Yes.
said, yeah.
My goodness.
It was a lot of work.
I was also thinking about, so as I mentioned, spelling used to evolve,
Mhm.
but I have a rather controversial opinion on spelling. I hate it. I don't. I think that
Well,
there's.
let me ask you, are you good at spelling?
I am an excellent
Oh, you're an
speller.
excellent, okay. Just to
Um,
clarify that.
I am an excellent speller, but I find that there's a judgment that goes with spelling that I personally was taught to have, that I've worked hard to get rid of. That there's fantastic, intelligent, educated people who are horrible at spelling, and we're taught to think
Oh,
otherwise
yes.
if they're horrible
Yes.
spellers.
Yeah.
And so, in terms of a dictionary, like my view on spelling is, as long as you can effectively communicate, it doesn't matter if things were spelled correctly or not.
Okay, English teacher.
And you see, they would say that you're judged, your intelligence level is judged by others if you misspell a lot of words or mispronounce them.
Right, but my counter argument for the pronunciation is probably if you mispronounce a word, it's because you have not heard it orally, that you encounter the word in the print form in the first place. And so it's an expression of creativity. But even if you mispronounce something, as long as I know what you're trying to say,
Yeah.
communication is happening. So that I would argue that that's still valid. But I don't know. Are you a stickler for spelling?
Yes.
Yes, I'm driving down. Look at that! There's a car coming. What? They got an E in that sign there.
I love that.
It's true. We went to a farmer's market a few years ago and they had tomatoes spelled with no E, no O-E-S.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I went, oh! And Mick said, what? I said, never mind, I'll tell you later. He went, what is it? Never mind, I'll tell you later.
I wonder if
So
that's a
we
clever
walked out.
marketing strategy.
Yes,
because that
exactly.
caught
You
my
notice
attention.
it. You notice it. Yeah. Oh, for sure.
True,
Oh, for sure.
so true.
Yeah. Advertising can be brilliant that way, where you
Yeah,
make obvious goof ups to get people's attention.
Yeah,
Yep.
absolutely.
yeah.
So apparently The Professor and the Madman is a movie. I have not seen it.
Oh, I haven't either.
Okay.
I'd love to see that.
It stars Mel Gibson as
Oh.
Professor Murray
Okay.
and Sean Penn
It's
as
the man.
the Madman.
Oh,
Yeah,
that would be really good.
yeah. So I'm gonna absolutely check that out.
When was
Yeah.
that?
Not that long ago.
Okay.
I'm not sure the year
Hmm,
exactly. but
interesting.
Not that
Yeah.
long
Mel
ago.
Gibson, eh?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he has a gigantic beard and an English accent.
Yes.
So yeah,
Okay.
it seems like something very interesting. So I have a couple of books that are related to this. I wanted to either recommend them or hear if you've read them. Have you read The Liar's Dictionary by Ellie Williams?
Yes.
And what did you think of that?
Oh, I was so bored reading that book.
Oh.
I really was.
I loved the idea of putting in just fake and phony words to trick people and to check the copyright or the cheaters and the plagiarists and that kind of thing. I loved that idea.
Yeah, I don't know why. I kept saying to Mick, I don't like this book. So maybe it's just my preference for the English language.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah.
The injustice of it.
Oh, yeah. Well,
Tradition.
the thing is- yeah, no, not only that. Part of it is we're Ukrainian, my family. And when there was a lot of looking down on people with Ukrainian accents
Okay.
in the small Saskatchewan town
Yeah.
we grew up in. And so, like, my mom would say, you learn to speak Ukrainian. And we'd say, no, we're Canadian.
Right.
We're speaking the English language. We don't want to have an accent. Now accents are kind of cool.
Yeah, that has evolved.
So that
Absolutely.
probably influenced my
Fair.
feelings of the book. Yeah.
Another fun and slightly related book that I have read quite a while ago is Ella Minnow P. The subtitle is A Progressively Lipogrammatic Epistolary Fable
Oh my goodness.
by Mark Dunn. And so it is a ridiculous book where every chapter they lose the use of one letter.
Oh.
And so they start off with all 26.
Yeah.
Sounds like a
And
game.
then it's subtracted every time. And so it actually developed a little bit of my opinions on spelling because they had to communicate
Right.
without the use of some letters. And so sometimes it's a different word choice. Sometimes it is a different spelling. Sometimes, yeah.
Ah.
So how many letters did they eliminate?
I think they got down to about 5.
Whoa.
Yeah, it was super fun book. It's completely ridiculous.
We'll have to get that
but
title
super
for
fun.
you.
Absolutely.
L-M.
Ella Minope.
Okay.
I don't actually know what lipogrammatic means, but it's a fun word.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Fun pronouncing it.
Absolutely. All right, so now on to the second portion of the
Food.
podcast, the food part.
All right.
Mm.
So I was particularly nervous because I had read about halfway through the book, and there was the only reference to food was metallic biscuits covered in poison.
I don't even remember that one.
So
I was
it was
trying to pick out food too. Okay.
the metallic biscuits covered in poison was just when he was describing, the madman was describing how he's been abused overnight, that he was
Okay.
Oh yes.
he was being
Yes.
fed inappropriate things, metallic biscuits covered in poison. But then we got to the fancy dinner, and they, when they were inviting all the people to come and meet the contributors
That's
the
right.
Yeah.
Oxford, the people at Oxford, the fancy dinner. So then the options got much greater. Some of the options were clear turtle soup, which kind of caught my attention. I have no desire to eat that, but I would.
Thank you.
I was interested. There was also turbot with lobster sauce, roast partridge, or strawberry ice.
Wow.
So it sounded like a fantastic meal that they had.
Yeah.
I didn't choose any of those. I chose something that I had never heard of before. And this is called Queen Mab's Pudding. Do you know who
Very.
Queen Mab is?
No.
I'll give you a clue. It's a Shakespeare reference. Ring any bells? It didn't to
Lady
me.
Macbeth.
It didn't ring any bells to me either. It's
Oh, thank
actually
you.
a fairy's midwife. Queen Mab is a fairy's midwife, and Mercutio speaks about her in one of his speeches in Romeo and Juliet.
Okay.
So Queen Mab's pudding is a set pudding. It has
Well done.
it's supposed to have isinglass in it, which is a version of gelatin. I just use gelatin. And so you have 2 samples here. The sample on this side is following the recipe that I found online, the 100-year-old recipe, and I wasn't personally satisfied. So the one with the cherry in it is my version of it. And so they described it as a set custard to end the meal. And so the original version is quite set, quite gelatinous. You can try it.
Okay.
It
Where's
has-
your fork?
Oh, I have some here.
Okay.
So it has
It's like panna cotta.
lemon peel in it, and crystallized ginger,
Mm.
some sugar, and some pistachios. So that is the version that I do not like. And so when I made it, I was just making my personal judgments, and it's a little bit too strong, the ginger taste, in my opinion, a little bit too
Little
much.
bit.
Lemon peel, because the way you cook it, you put all of the ingredients in the pot and stir it about, and then when you pour it in the mold, you can't control how much of the stuff
That's nice.
gets in there. And so when I made it a second time, the Cheryl Secord version of Queen Mab's pudding is the whiter one. I've used about half the amount of gelatin because I didn't enjoy the texture as much of the first one. And then instead of putting all of the ingredients in the
It's delicious.
thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of putting all the ingredients in the pot, I put the lemon peel and the pistachios and the cherry in each of the molds and then poured the custard on top. So it's a little lighter tasting, a little bit more milky. So
It's nice. It's nice. You should go on the
So-
Canadian baking show.
That is from Shakespeare's time, this recipe?
I don't know for sure. It is definitely called Queen Mab's pudding, so there's some reference to it. I'm not sure. Most
You
of the
like that one?
recipes that I found were exactly the same, so I think it might have been something that was very common at the
Okay.
time, but has gone out of style a little bit. So
It takes a lot of work to make a panna cotta.
you just have to do a lot of stirring.
Uh-huh.
We recently got
And
a
pray, and hope and pray that it sets.
Absolutely. This is a little bit of a cheat because there is gelatin in it, so it's not as stressful as
So there would not have been gelatin.
it was called isinglass.
Even glass.
Where's that Oxford Dictionary?
Yeah, I don't know. I didn't look at. I just looked it up enough to know that I don't have that, and that I had something else that would work in
Absolutely.
a very similar way.
It's lovely.
That's very nice. You like that one with the ginger.
I think what I would like is the halfway between.
Okay, so you like the set part?
Yeah, and I like that it's got a little bit more jump to it,
Yeah,
Bite.
bite.
it didn't.
And I like the, milder one.
Yeah, I didn't want it to be as spicy as the original version, so.
Very nice.
Excellent,
Thank you.
Other things that we could have chosen was Dundee cake. It is a Scottish fruit cake,
Okay.
so I just thought that would be a little bit too much work. Or we could have had sago pudding, which is basically tapioca pudding.
Oh, Mick loves tapioca.
Excellent. All right, well, thanks for trying that.
That was delicious.
Lovely.
So the third portion of the podcast is talking about public libraries. So what is your avid patrons of Lloydminster Public Library? What's your favorite thing about Lloydminster Public Library?
It's accessible. It's very well put together. It has lots of programs for, young people. I love being in here one day and in came all these little kids just running, and I thought, that's wonderful. Everyone's not going, shh, 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 this is a library, you can't talk. Right?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, it's the atmosphere here is
very welcoming.
very nice. Well done.
Excellent.
It is, yes.
And it amazes us when we get our return date on a receipt, and it tells us how much we've saved. It's, whoa, because we used to buy books.
Right.
We bought a lot.
Oh,
The problem with that is you have to put them somewhere.
Yeah,
Yeah. What do
we
you do with
donate
after a while?
them or whatever,
Yeah,
yeah.
we end up.
But
I'm now much more selective of the books in general. I use the library for the first read of any book, and then it's only if I want to have it on hand to lend to somebody, or if I want to mark it all up and remember parts or whatever.
for you,
But
yeah,
I almost always use the
that's
library.
a good idea.
So Lloydminster residents, speaking of that little dollar value at the bottom of your tag, Lloydminster residents in 2024 are on track to save $3 million
Oh, that's
by
fantastic.
using Lloydminster Public Library.
I believe it, because
My
what did we
goodness,
save? How
It's
much?
over $1,000.
Just this year,
Mhm.
so we can, that would
That's
add up.
amazing.
Yeah, people don't, their perceptions of public libraries in the current time are that they are dying or dead,
Yeah, yes.
but not here.
No.
And that's just the physical books. That doesn't count. Include e-books.
E-books.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I love sills
Mm-hmm.
that I can
Yeah.
order a book and I get notification that it's there.
I actually love the hold process. I like that there is a book waiting for me.
Mhm.
And you go and you go, oh, this is it.
And then you never know what's coming when, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
usually I have quite a few on hold, and
Oh, good for you.
then I just get a notice that I'm like, which one's it gonna be? All right, back to the book talks. Have you ever regretted reading a book?
Well, just that Liars.
The
And I
one
was
that
with
you
a-
were recommending.
I was with a book club and we took turns choosing a book and one of the members chose that book and that's why I had to read it.
Okay, you couldn't just put it down?
No, and
Yeah.
say, no, I've had enough. Remember I was complaining, I said, oh, I don't like this book.
For me, it's psychological thrillers. I always think I'm gonna like them, and then it just puts thoughts in my head that do not need to
Yeah.
be thought.
Yeah, and then
Yeah.
you can't sleep.
And then I can't sleep, and then I'm questioning all my personal relationships, and these people thought they had a fantastic life, and then they didn't. Maybe I also think I have a fantastic life, maybe I don't.
Yeah.
And it's just, I'm always sucked in, and then the second I pick them up, I get into chapter 2 and I'm like, oh, here we go again, this was a bad idea.
Mind starts
Yeah.
spinning, but that's powerful to say about a book, that a book can affect you that way.
How about you, have you regretted reading a book?
No, I've regretted, not regret, but I've tried to read, is it Wolf Hall?
I think it is.
I've
tried
tried
it about
that
3
about
times.
4 times,
Careful.
it's supposed to be so good. And,
It's not for you.
Can't
Yeah.
read it.
yeah, it's funny.
Have you read Moby Dick?
Years ago.
I
That-
heard
that-
that's a torture, isn't it?
That is one book that I absolutely,
Detested.
I just regretted the time that I wasted.
Moby Dick, there's another one. It's about a guy in the war on a plane. What is it called? Anyway, sort of set along those lines.
I just feel like I think the people who invested the time reading it, that's why it became a classic, not because of the contents, just
I think
because
so.
people said, I
Well,
persevered, I made it through
Yeah.
that book, so yeah.
Have you ever read A Beautiful Life? Is that what it's called? No, big thick book.
All right, well, thank you for joining us
Oh,
today. We loved
this
having
was
you.
easy,
Yeah,
thank
this is great.
you. I worried for nothing.
Oh, come now.
So I did a little bit of research too.
Okay,
Mhm.
and what did you find?
Podcast, when was the first time it was used?
Oh, that's a fun idea. That I do not know. I have no idea.
Yeah, there you go.
And
I'm
can you
not
give us
telling.
the answer?
I'm not telling.
Because you don't know.
2004.
Oh,
Yeah.
really? 20 years ago?
That's actually earlier than I would have anticipated.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
That's my story and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. Excellent. Well, thank you for joining us on Read It and Eat It in the Library, and we hope to see you next time.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Right.
Enjoyed
Yeah.
this a lot.
Yeah.